Hi guys, so today I'm going to be talking about chapter 5, which is learning. So what is learning exactly? Well, the book defines it as any relatively permanent change in behavior brought about by experience or practice. So the types of learning are classical conditioning, which is learning to make a reflex response to a stimulus other than the original natural stimulus. There's operant conditioning, which is same as classical but applies voluntary behavior. And observational learning, which is learning of a new behavior through observation of a model. So first, I'm going to talk about classical conditioning and list a couple of examples of experiments done by other people. So in John B. Watson's experiment with little Albert, the boy at first had no fear of a white rat, but after the rat was paired with loud noises, the boy learned to be afraid of it. Before the experiment, the neutral stimulus was the white rat, the unconditioned stimulus was the loud clinking noise, and the unconditioned response was fear. After the experiment, the conditioned stimulus was the white rat, and the conditioned response was fear. So not only did this experiment create a fear for the boy of the white rat, but also for other white fuzzy things. This experiment showed that phobias could form because of classical conditioning. Another example of classical conditioning would be if a student gets bullied at school, so associate school now with fear or sadness. In the book and in the lecture, this classical conditioning was described where the dog would hear the whistle and drool because during the conditioning, when the whistle would blow, he would get food. So next, I'm going to talk about operant conditioning, and for this, you give a reward or punishment for doing a certain behavior, and there are reinforcements, both positive and negative, and there are punishments, both positive and negative. Positive reinforcement, it's the reinforcement of a response by an addition or experience of a pleasurable consequence, like getting $5 for every A on the report card. For negative reinforcement, it's the removal or avoidance of the unpleasant experience, like making a kid wait at the table until their vegetables are eaten. For positive punishment, it is when something unpleasant is added to the situation, like when a child touches a stove so it feels pain. For negative punishment, it is when the removal of something pleasurable, like taking away a favorite toy of a child who is fighting with his brother. So first, I'm going to have characters, which this is Kelsey and her son Bryant. So Kelsey wants to have her son Bryant start eating vegetables. So how exactly can Kelsey do this? She can use operant conditioning to teach her son Bryant to eat vegetables. Kelsey wants to teach Bryant that eating vegetables at dinner will allow him to receive one piece of candy. Bryant will soon have a learned behavior that was part of operant conditioning. He did a behavior and got a reward for it. An example of positive reinforcement because the child is receiving a pleasant action or experience for eating their vegetables. So lastly, I'm going to talk about observational learning. Observational learning is learning that occurs through observing the behavior of others. For example, a child learning to curse because the parents do, or like an older sibling is being punished for taking a cookie without asking, so the younger child learns not to take it because